Just a reminder that if you haven't seen the previous episode of the Ident Review Extra, you can still view it here on the channel, and in that previous episode, we took a look at the rather topical Berlin Wall. And now, here on AMTV, time for the latest instalment of the Ident Review Extra, and this time, we're celebrating 100 years of a very special medium indeed. The following programme is rated U. It is suitable for all audiences. Hello, and welcome to the Ident Review Extra, the spin-off show that takes a look at one individual ident each episode and gives it the review it deserves. And today we continue our marathon through the BBC Two idents of the 1990s. Today on our BBC Two journey, we enter the year 1995 with a rather special ident to celebrate the medium of cinema. For the Motion Picture's 100th anniversary, BBC Two began screening a series of classic films to mark such an occasion, and as we've learned, like any special season of programming, a brand new ident was to be commissioned to represent said season. So I present to you today, Centenary. Well, very on the nose in regards to cinema. We see the familiar shape of the two crash into a pile of seemingly discarded film, giving a whole new meaning to the cutting room floor. The two itself retains its familiar shape as well as the aqua blue tones that we've come to expect over the past few years' worth of sequences. But what I think presents a strong final image for this ident is the design of the two itself. More the fact that it has been moulded to look like an old-fashioned film can, in which film reels in the early days of cinema would have been stored. This design choice may seem simple and obvious, but it really adds and cements the iconography of cinema, and as such, makes it a fitting celebration of the medium as a whole.
Vincent Price heads the cast in tonight's late film, now on BBC Two, a chilling tale of 17th century England from Michael Reeves. Taken from the BBC 100 list of classics, The Horror of the Witchfinder General.
Another talking point of this ident should be its musical score, and whilst at first it seems like a slight variation on other two soundtracks of the past few years, this one seems a lot more darker and suspenseful in tone. In a way, I really like this soundtrack, but it echoes the suspense and tension that you can get from films at the cinema, particularly the masterpieces from the golden era of the medium. I think this ident really works in concept, and it could have definitely been used after the celebratory season to represent any classic film showing on the channel. But sadly, as history shows, after the season concluded later in 1995, the Centenary ident would disappear from screens, seemingly never to be seen again. That is, until 20 years later, where seemingly out of nowhere, on BBC Two Northern Ireland, the sequence would make a comeback, to celebrate a different anniversary entirely.
Celebrating 25 years of BBC films now on BBC Two Northern Ireland. With some strong language to fight for equal rights, Sally Hawkins leads the charge for a stellar cast in the extraordinary story of Made in Dagenham.
So nice to see special sequences like this be re-shown in much higher quality. As you heard the continuity announcer say, this sequence was brought back into use ironically not to celebrate a centenary or 100 years of something, but rather a silver anniversary of 25 years for BBC Films, a section of the corporation that had been in production since 1990. Bringing this ident back reaffirms my view that had it had a life beyond its initial conception, that it could have indeed been used for other filmic anniversaries or just classic film showings in general. But after this showing in 2015, so far, it has never been broadcast on BBC Two again.
In search of bright lights in a big city, only to discover violence and corruption, Alain Delon stars in Luchino Visconti's epic family saga, Rocco and His Brothers.
Overall, this ident does a fantastic job of representing and celebrating the cinema. Everything about its design, the 2 film can, the reels and reels of film it crashes into, the darker tone music, it all just encapsulates so many wonderful facets of the motion picture medium. And even though it was great to see it get a second re-airing in the mid-2010s, I still find it a great shame that this wonderful special sequence didn't get the extra airtime that it definitely deserved. And so we've come to the end, but before we go, the final words from our broadcaster. That was the Ident Review Extra. We hope you enjoyed and that you tune in next time. Keep an eye on the community tab and the Sunday catch-up for further news about this program, as well as others here on AMTV. But until then, have a good week, and we hope that you'll join us again soon. Good night.